Cleverdix podcast. In this podcast, we're talking to Neil Agius. Neil's from Malta and currently holds the world record for the longest non-wetsuit, non-tide assisted ocean swim ever. It's an amazing story. 142 kilometers in 61 hours, swimming 1 3/4 times around Malta and Goza. It's a fascinating story. We cover all sorts of things like his approach to food, nutrition, some of his philosophy on swimming, and some of the external reasons why he does some of these big swims. A bit of an apology for the sound quality. We've done as best we can to improve the quality, but he was in Malta and we were in New Zealand, so we did the best we can. But I think you'll enjoy it anyway. Okay, so welcome to another Cleverdix podcast. In this podcast, we're talking to Neil from Malta. Welcome, Neil.
Hi, guys.
Hey.
Small island in the Mediterranean, for those who don't know.
Yeah.
How do we pronounce your surname correctly, Neil?
Agius.
Agius.
Cool.
Like a juice with an A in front. Agius.
Agius. Okay, got you.
Okay, so maybe to start off, you could just give us a little bit about your sort of swimming story, sort of how you got into it, and then we can cover some of your big achievements and things like that. But a lot of people like to know how people got into it and what keeps them going. So do you want to just tell us a little bit of your swim story?
Yeah, so back in the day, I was a pool swimmer a long time ago, and I represented Malta in the Olympics in Athens in 2004. And then many different world championships and big events that I competed and represented Malta. And in 2011, I decided to stop swimming. I was 24 years old. And I said, listen, it would be really cool if I could swim around my own country before I kind of hang up my goggles and, multiple national record holder and did everything under the sun in the pool, in our own limitation, obviously, but I said that would be really cool to do. It took me 7 years to do it. And so then in 2018, I swam around Malta, which is a 70-kilometer swim, and it took me 22 hours. And to be fair, I hadn't swam for 7 years and just trained for 6 months. I didn't know what I was getting myself into. The longest swim that I had done before that was a 10-kilometer open water swim that our coach used to make us do once every few years. And so each training session in the preparation to it started what was my longest swim I've ever done until the big swim, which, to be fair, I didn't like it. I was like that. At the end, I was more than before the end. It was like too intense. I had no tools, no skills, no understanding what I could do to keep going forward, and such a mindset and such a difficult period that I had to go through. And a few days later, I was like, I need to do another one.
That's generally how it works.
And then, in 2019, I did a smaller swim so I could prepare for a bigger swim, which was from Sicily to Malta. And I swam 100 kilometers. And swam that in 28 hours. And then the year after that, I swam 125 kilometers, crossing from Linosa to Gozo. Then I had a year's break because that was pretty intense. Took me to very intense places, but each time learning and modulating and changing and adding to my list of arsenal, which we'll speak about later, I guess, on the podcast. And in 2023, I attempted to swim from Mallorca to Ibiza and around Ibiza. And 22 hours into the swim, I had to abort the swim because we came across so many jellyfish. I had like 60 stings. And so we aborted that for safety reasons. And it was no longer possible for me to remain in that situation. And we reattempted this year swimming around the Maltese Islands 1 3/4 times, and I swam 142.6 kilometers, and it took me 61 hours. So we went from we doubled the distance in 7 years, from 70 kilometers to 142, and tripled the time from 22 hours to 61.
Wow, that is just absolutely amazing. You must have, you must have learned a lot in terms of all those things and journeys here. So maybe we can sort of start diving down into some of those. But I was just, if you got something specific?
Well, so other than, I guess, when you started thinking about these long swims post your pool swimming background, you were trying to look for, I guess, something that would potentially end your swimming career. But instead, what it's done is that it's prolonged your career, right?
It's created a whole new world and new space I didn't even know existed. I didn't even know this ultra distance world existed. And that's what the beauty is about it, right? It's just the next swim. I never said, okay, I want to swim 142 kilometers. I want to swim next. It's only about the swim that's ahead. And then after that, if it feels good and I feel like I am capable of swimming more and I feel like that's what I want to do, then we go again. But there's so many things that have to be aligned into me being able to do a swim like this, right? This is, you need to have your whole life planned 9 months in advance, right? You can't have anything that is going to interrupt or disrupt with the preparation.
Sure. So what is, maybe two questions, right? So firstly, what does that preparation look like? And obviously you can't get into too much detail, but just for an average Joe like me, what does that entail? You know, how long before a 60-hour swim do you start training? What type of mileage do you do per week? How do you train to not sleep for 61 hours? Take us through a little bit of that.
Questions are endless, I'm sure. So let's start with the training each year. So within each swim, what's important is that even during the swim now, I understand what's missing from my training, right? Are my shoulders too tired? Did I stop doing my Pilates classes too soon? How are my fitness levels? And so these are years and years of tweaking and changing and understanding how it's not only the physical, but also the mental, right? So our physical capacity is our own physical capacity that fits in a jar. And no matter how much I train, I have 100% and that's it. But then if I train the mindset side and the mental side, then I can get my 100%. We can never really train to 100%, 90, 95%. And I can double that, triple that. It's never ending then. And so there's a fine balance between the mindset training and the physical training. But for those listening, I think the physical training, it's a slow, gradual build-up, right? In the 7 years I've been doing this, I've never been injured because I ensure that I never do anything too fast, too soon. If you get injured, it is most likely because you are trying to do something you are not ready to do.
Okay, yeah.
And so every week there's the build-up goes in troughs. So it goes up to, for example, 60 kilometers a week, then it goes back down, then it goes up to 80, then it goes back down, then it goes up to higher. And to be fair, I work in hours, not distance. So you go up to 10-hour swims, and then you're going back down, and then you're going up to 14-hour swims, then back down. And each time you're adding building blocks to your program. I mean, I absolutely love it now. It's my favoriteest thing to do. So,
well, that's great. I suppose a lot of that physical training is also revolves around the nutrition. So it's not just about keeping your muscles going, but it's about fueling your body and keeping that going. What approaches do you take to sort of keeping yourself going from a nutrition point of view?
So I have my own kind of chef on board. There's a team of 28 people this year, actually, that come with me. That organization and that logistics is another monster in itself, right? But when it comes to the nutrition, it's all natural food. Everything has to be kind of fresh, and everything has to be made fresh. So the nutrients are as high as possible. very highly dense in nutrients, but also having food like pasta. So there's a bite, because you need to bite food to get a certain depth of your metabolism or certain levels of your metabolism working, because that's what keeps you warm, right? And then after 6 p.m. during the swim, everything is warm. The water's warm, soup's warm, pasta's warm. Everything that I eat, drink, or goes into my body is warm to try and maintain my body temperature and not get hypothermic, basically, because that amount of hours in the water, through the night, it gets cold.
What was the water temperature in your last from the big one, the 61 hours?
The water temperature was around 26 degrees.
Yeah.
The problem was the air temperature dropped.
Yes.
And so what was happening, because I was feeling so cold at nights, and I've obviously I swim all winter now. I'm swimming in our winter. Our sea doesn't get as cold as yours, but it's like 13 degrees. I can swim 2-3 hours in there very happily. But what was happening was that when I was breathing in the cold air, I was feeling the cold going right down from the inside. And so then I was cold from the inside out.
Oh, okay.
I was trying to adjust my breathing into just taking just as little breaths in as possible, warm water, burning my tongues, drinking warm drinks, and trying to keep my body as warm as possible, because it's a game, right? It's an experiment with yourself of you need to get from point A to point B. You want to go as slow as possible, right? To use as little as energy as possible. But if you go too slow, you start to get too cold. You go too slow, then it's going to take you longer to get to the end. So you're going to be awake for longer. You start to go too fast, then you start to eat out your energy and you might not make it to the end. So there's like a fine balance of all these things that I'm working on while I'm swimming, that I'm very aware about.
So how much further do you reckon, how much longer, not further, how much longer do you reckon the human body is capable of going?
I mean, I swam 142 kilometers. I was in the water for 61 hours. The cold took a lot of my energy away from me, right? I was trying to go faster. My body was wasting energy, keeping itself as trying to regenerate the heat as well. These are all micros that all add up when you were thinking the longer distance. The issue is the issue comes when you salt water, right? Being in the salt water for that amount of time, how much longer can your body be immersed in salt water before it's kind of too much, where my mouth would be full of ulcers, my lips are swollen. Like I had so many ulcers inside my mouth and around my mouth that towards the end of the swim, I couldn't open my mouth wider because it was all ulcers.
Cut and open.
Yeah. But towards the end of the swim, I was swimming in 2-meter waves, right? And so we have the correct weather window, then it's possible. But the only problem is when you're trying to mobilize the team, you don't know what's going to happen. You need to mobilize 24 hours before you're actually going to swim. Then you're swimming for 3 days. So the last day, you never really know what's going to happen.
Exactly. Yeah. So you're not the biggest guy in the world, right? You're still pretty lean and mean. So from when you were swimming pool races to now, has your body shape and composition changed?
I'm lighter, yeah. I'm the lightest.
You're lighter?
Yes. All that mileage, all those kilometers. And I do a lot of training on calorie deficit, right? So I'll do a 6-hour session where I won't stop to drink, eat anything, swim for 6 hours straight. So I can understand what it means to be depleted from food. So I can know what that feeling is. So if it starts to happen, then I can make sure I'm eating more food during the swim.
Sure. So do you not, and I mean, logic says to me, if you're a little bit bigger and carry a little bit more body fat, you potentially can cope with the cold for longer. Is that something that's worth exploring from your side?
Yeah, definitely it is. It's a struggle though. If you're doing 6-7 weeks of swimming 100 Ks a week,
Yeah.
it's like you're eating and you're feeling sick eating, it doesn't, it's a constant, you need to constantly be eating 5, 6, 7,000 calories a day continuously.
I don't have a problem doing that, Neil. If you need some help with that, I can give you some tips.
Keep off them.
Okay, so a couple of questions. On the long distance record scenario, there's a whole bunch of different categories, right? And maybe you can help me understand some of those. So, for example, your swim was a non-wetsuit ocean swim.
Yeah, it's a current neutral,
Current
Current neutral. Okay. And then there's
Then there's wetsuit swims now are being accepted as well, and that's a different category.
Yep.
And there's lake swims,
Yep.
and then there's lake assisted.
multi-segments.
Yeah, multi-segment as well. So that means you get from one point to the other. You're allowed to get out of the water for 10 minutes, I think that is, and then you go back and carry on going. And then there's downriver streams, right? So down lakes, or constant flow of currents that is constantly pulling you towards your destination.
And also ocean open current, right?
Yeah.
Okay. So your record is current neutral ocean non-wetsuit.
Yeah. No touch.
Okay.
No resting on any flotation device. So at no point am I aided in any way. So
sounds like you chose the toughest one.
yeah, the full gangster one, I call it.
Yeah.
So it's you're completely never aided, and what people don't understand. And like when you're doing an ultra marathon run and running for 200 miles, you can stop and sit down. You can have a breather. There's no point is your not body working to keep you afloat or keep you alive, if that's where you want to take it,
Yeah.
Move, you sink. So you have to be constantly moving.
Yeah. What's your thoughts on some of the wetsuit records?
Yeah, I think every record should be counted. Everyone, whether it's wetsuit or not. The only difference that I see is wetsuits have different thickness, different aids, if you know what I mean. So like one can help you a really lot, and there are some wetsuits that have titanium in the forearm as well, and so then it gets messy of is it the person who has the most expensive wetsuit gonna swim along? But then I guess it's the same in other sports with bikes, right? And with shoes as well. It's just not in my peripherals when it comes to swimming. It's usually our body and that's it.
Yeah, so it's not going to get me any popularity contest points there, but swimming in a wetsuit's like doing the Tour de France on an e-bike, right?
Definitely, you're not going to win any points. Let me tell you, it definitely has to be considered that it's easier. But have you ever tried to spend 60 hours in a wetsuit?
Yes. No, I haven't. But yes, I agree with you. It's a mammoth task.
There's no way I would do it ever. No way would I ever consider swimming in a wetsuit for that amount of time.
2 hours in a wetsuit is enough, right? It's chafing and it's...
I've done 6 and I had the orca signs printed on my and then obviously you have the neck and then you have I think I appreciate everyone who does, and well done to be able to do that, because obviously every swim has its difficulties and everything, but it's not something that I would consider getting into for sure.
Yeah. Hey, I'm just looking at
wetsuits. They've designed wetsuits with flaps at the back, I think, as well.
Yes. Well, so yes. So let's park that for a second. Does your body need to go to the loo with 61 hours of swimming, or are you just constantly consuming and digesting all of those calories?
So what's important to know is that like I swim for 28 and a half minutes. And then I have a minute and a half. Every 28 and a half minutes, I stop. They pass me my food and my drink, and I eat and have a conversation if there needs to be a conversation, any information that needs to be passed to me. And then I keep swimming. It gets very difficult with the adrenaline and with that short amount of time to do everything and also piss. And then we also take fibromyalgia gel, I think it is. To help me go to the bathroom properly, because you're drinking a lot of liquid foods, you're constantly moving, bowels, you're always in a horizontal position, really vertical, and so it needs a little bit of help sometimes. It's a very
little bit of a science to that, eh?
Yeah.
Wow. Okay.
There's a lot of balances. So I'm always kind of interested in kind of the reasons why people go into it. So obviously there's a lot of challenge and being able to be the first or be the best, but there's a bit more to your story as well, I think, because you've been involved in is it wave of change and looking after our environment. And I didn't know if you just wanted to sort of talk about some of the other reasons for what you do or how you support sort of the environmental aspects.
Yeah, I think everyone, when you're going into these ultra marathons, you need to have more than one reason why you're doing it, right? You have to have your own personal reasons, and then there's other things that are bigger than you. And I felt that in 2018, we wanted to kind of share a message, right? I'm not really kind of one who likes the spotlight. And so we're like, everyone's going to have their eyes on me. What can we tell everyone and what can we share? We have 15 seconds to a minute of their attention, which is, as time goes on, it becomes more and more valuable. So what are we going to share? And it was to protect our seas, to clean our seas, to be aware of how we can't take nature for granted, because it goes beyond just not throwing plastic in the sea, but we don't understand, or we're not aware of how much it helps us on a mental level until we won't have it anymore in front of us, until our future generations won't have it. And then we'll be like, oh, why is everyone feeling so funny? It's because the oceans are not where they are. The nature is not as protected as they are. So we started by creating a campaign to make people aware of how bad the situation is by telling them to pick up 3 pieces of plastic and to tag. It was that kind of era where it was like those years where it was tag someone, to challenge someone to do the same thing, picking up 3 pieces. And so that really picked up like wildfire. And then it kind of came on to, okay, now let's try and motivate and entertain the idea of getting people thinking about what they're actually buying with the supermarkets. We don't have to pick up all the trash as well. And then it's kind of, now we're at the stage of, to get people to really care about the ocean, we need to make them fall in love with it. That is the bottom line. And so how do we get them to fall in love with nature? It's to spend time in nature, to connect in nature, to be present in nature, and that is what's gonna. And then they start to feel how much it's a teacher. The ocean is one of my biggest teacher, definitely, for sure. And if people can understand and receive so much that I receive from it by spending so much time in it, being present, then everyone will be kind of like on the same train that I am, and I'm sure you guys are, where you're like, you can't do that to the ocean.
Yeah, it's wonderful what you do here. There's quite a focus sort of on ocean health over here in New Zealand as well. Despite the fact that everyone thinks we're lovely and clean and green, we've got a lot of work to do here as well. So, the more we get the message out, the better. Yeah.
Clever Dicks is New Zealand's largest swim-focused podcast. And our team at Swimscapes is proud to be their official partner with all things swimming. Swimscapes offers boat piloting and safety for solo marathon swims, as well as various packages including marathon relay swims, swim camps, and swim adventure holidays. Swimscapes is also a facilitator of the Auckland Triple Crown, coming soon. Proudly brought to you by Swimscape.
So, Neil, I'm going to go back to your swim, because obviously that's a mammoth task, and we're all super interested in it here in New Zealand. But what do you reckon was the most challenging part of that swim? You know, did you go through phases where you just wanted to stop, or were there phases that you perhaps can't remember swimming? You know, were you non-compos mentos, or, you know, what was the toughest part?
I think it all comes in waves, right? And I think also one of the toughest parts is standing on the beach about to start.
Yeah.
Because before you start, and this is for any big moment in anyone's life, whether it's about to start a 60-hour swim or about to take on a new role as a CEO in their job or changing company, all the doubts, all the fears come in, right? And so in the first few hours, you're just doubting all the decisions you've taken of like, is it this my ego that I want to be doing it? Can I even do it? Are my shoulders already even tired? And it's about not making that your reality, right? Because this is just mind playing games with you, and just kind of letting that be. And eventually, once you ignore it, it slowly fades away and you get into a little bit of a flow. But the nights are tough. We decided to do the swim in September this year, to avoid any jellyfish. And so that's 11 hours of darkness, right? That's very intense. No matter how prepared you are. I love swimming at night. 11 hours is long, and 11 hours on the second time is even longer. You also have the continuous rhythmic breathing and it's the sleep deprivation where you start hallucinating. And what I've learned is to not play into the hallucinations, where in the beginning I'll be like, oh, wow, what's that? How cool that is. And you look at it and you watch the hallucinations happening in front of you. And all of a sudden you're completely engulfed in a 3D experience, and you're not actually present to what are you actually doing. Are you swimming at the right speed? Is your chin tucked in? Is your belly button tucked in? And are you not letting water into your mouth to avoid cold from eroding this inside of the mouth? I have to be fully present and fully aware of everything that I'm doing, every moment, to be at the maximum efficiency. And it's not being efficient in the first 20 hours. How efficient can you be at the end? And that's what my focus is, and that's what I train for, and that's what I look forward to as well. Like, you know, everyone tells me, a lot of ultra swimmers or ultra athletes, like, I train so hard, so I never get to that place. I'm like, yes, I train so hard, so when I get to that place, I can see if the training that I've done actually works. That's when that's what I'm training for. That's what I'm doing, the 24-hour swims and all the mindset and all the breath work and everything under the sun to prepare myself for that moment. Not to be afraid of it, but that's what excites me. Not having my back against the wall. Every bone in my body, every thought in my mind is telling you to stop, and you figure out how to keep swimming.
Mm. What are the hallucinations that you have?
So in 2021, when I swam for 52 hours, when I did the Lenosa to Gozo swim, it started with like the body of a parrot and the head of a fish. And I'm like, whoa, what are those? I've never seen one of those. And then from one, there's many of them, right? And then the fish head became like a snail, still with the body of a parrot, but with all the polka dots, you know, those like blue or pink polka dots. And I'm like, oh, those are even cooler than the ones I saw before. And then the body of the parrot came upwards, and so it was standing up. and polka dots turned into like those old school diving
Oh, yeah.
like with the windows, with the 4 windows.
Yeah.
And then they turned into like a community. So people holding hands, walking together, some people waving at me, some people hiding under the sand when I come on top of them. And to that, I'm telling you the nice parts, right? And then we'll stick PG for now.
Okay.
Then in 2000, this year, last September, I was seeing like these, like in the shape of a manta ray, but with very long wingspan, like bluish, black, gray, really nice colors. And once you see one, you start seeing 2, 3, hundreds of them swimming underneath you. And then they would stand up as well, flip their wings around them, and it becomes like a coat. And they're walking again. So like another community. And so obviously trying to unpack these is like, how important is community to me and to us, and how our ancestors used to gather in communities and live in communities. Along the way, we've lost our way, but now we're going back into communities of this era. So sports communities, wellness communities, music communities. And so it's just highlighting the importance of community for me and for everyone.
So that's kind of fascinating. And right at the beginning, you talked about sort of the physical preparation, but also the mental preparation. And I think that's something that very few sort of swimmers probably think about it enough, but not many of them are sort of going for as long as you are. How do you approach the mental side of it? How do you do the mental training? Because it is training, right? It's just it's work that you've got to do to try to get your mindset right. What's your approach to the mental aspect of doing your swims?
Yeah, so I mean, in the beginning, it started by kind of just trying to meditate and just learning how to become comfortable with myself. But now it's kind of evolved a lot more into actually having tools to bring into situations when I need extra help, when I need to calm the mind. And in 2021, I was racking my brain, like racking my brain easier without actually having to swim faster. What can I do to make this easier without actually having to train anything? That doesn't take too much time to train and to perfect. And so then I was thinking from my childhood, when you're on a floaty, on like a lilo. I don't know if you call them lilos in New Zealand. When you're a kid,
same thing. Yep.
You pull through the water and you just like, you slide, you skim through from one side of the pool with one pull. And I'm like, okay, so I need to be a lilo. I'm like, how am I going to become a lilo? And then I was thinking again through my childhood of how you're in the water playing around, you fully exhale, you sink. And so then I'm like, okay, what if we start doing this in reverse and start inhaling, and then I'm exhaling while I'm swimming to have more air in my body. So now suddenly I'm going to try and teach myself to become higher and have less friction in the water. So then I developed a breath work on land, which is teaching me how to inhale more than I exhale. And then I go and repeat it while I'm swimming. And what I noticed is that when I'm doing that, then not only am I swimming faster because I'm just a little bit higher in the water, but I have more oxygen to my blood, more oxygen to my muscles. So I'm swimming much faster, much quicker, and I'm getting less tired. I'm like, what's going on? Checking my environment, like, is this making sense? That's this right? And that was like kind of then opened up to me wanting to explore breathwork more and the capacity of breathwork and how it can be used in so many different situations. And so then I use different breathwork sequences that I've created for myself and some from others as well, where when things get intense, bring back to the breath, come back to the presence, come back to finding the light in front of you when you can't even see the light, right? And believing that it's there, and taking small steps forwards towards it, and then it slowly gets, you see a little light, and then it starts to get bigger and bigger. But also sitting at home in silence, spending a lot of time alone in silence. When you're at home in silence, it's the loudest in your head. And we spend our day distracting ourselves. So we wake up, we're watching TV, we're talking to people, we're listening to music, we're at work, we're on our phone, always avoiding silence and avoiding being comfortable with ourselves. And so learning how to become comfortable with yourself in silence for many hours is a very important tool for everyone in everyday life, not only in swimming. And then there is creating control intense situations on land, and being present in those moments and understanding what is triggering you and what is happening in your trail of thought, to then learn how to change that baseline of what triggers you, change the baseline of what irritates you, and so you can operate on a much higher level.
That is fascinating. There's a lot of challenges in there, yes.
Yeah, so then there's also like, all of this doesn't work unless you have general upkeep, right? What do you eat? How much are you sleeping? We like a lot of athletes are trying to improve, training harder, and they sleep 5 hours a day. I mean, the easiest way to improve is to increase your sleep, right? You're not sleeping enough, even though you feel you are. You sleep more, you will have more energy, you will perform better. There are many studies. I've gone deep into this sleep and the benefits of more and better sleep. And there's lots of other things. So I can go on for a while. So then it's also creating little tests in my throughout my day, to creating the tests to test myself, right? So 2 years ago, like in the beginning, preparing for this, the one before the last swim, so in 2023, I was like, okay, so we're coming up to Christmas time. I'm not going to drink any alcohol, because I'm going to train my mind to not something at once. We're there, Christmas lunch, everyone's drinking, no alcohol, not one sip. And I want it. And I really want it, not to drink to get drunk. Christmas, a glass of red wine with the dinner, but no, I'm not.
I'm with you.
After tests of learning how to control the mind on this level, and I found so many benefits of not drinking that I haven't drunk since, and it's been sort of 2 years. So I no alcohol, no matter where I go, no matter what I do, I don't drink any alcohol. And it took 6 to 9 months of always like pushing you're at friends, you're on a beach with a few guy friends, and you're all having cold beers and you're drinking. Train your mind to not want something. So like this.
That's very disciplined. I'm very impressed.
Yeah, so we're talking to a beer brewer here.
I've been to the beer fest in Germany on a bachelor party, and I didn't drink any alcohol.
That's tough. That's yeah.
So, Neil, you had 28 people on your crew with you. What type of safety measures are in place, and what are they looking for? What are they doing on the boat while you're swimming?
Yes, so there are 28 people, because since the swimmers are so long, every role there are 3 people for. There's 3 people for every role.
Oh yeah.
So they are on rotation. So when they are on the boat, so they're obviously the sailing boats around, and then there's the rib that is closest to me, and I follow the rib, and the rib goes in the right direction. And On the rib, there'll be the rib driver, and those rotate every 2 hours. Especially at night, it's very important for them to rotate every 2 hours because there's no lights on me. I just have a glow stick, a red light on my back. On the boat, there are no lights as well because it's a low light atmosphere where the sea is so dark and so black at night when you're out in the middle of the ocean. No street lights, nothing. That if you turn your head and someone's holding a white light, it's gonna blind you. White light. And so no one's allowed white lights, only red lights, and even with red lights, even lower and dimmer. And so then there is the motivator. There are 3 motivators. There are 3 people who pass me the food. Then there are 3 doctors. I have an emergency doctor, an anesthesist, and a general doctor. And it's important because if something happens of the extreme, then there could be seconds or minutes that would make a very big difference in life or death situation, right? We are out in nature, we are in the ocean, so anything can happen. And then there are the media team as well, documenting the swim, and then there is the team principal as well, the navigators that are watching the weather and watching the route to make sure that we're staying exactly on track. And then there are 2 people who ferry people from the boat to me, to the boat that is next to me on their shifts. And then there's obviously the captains and the co-skippers of the actual sailing boats. And it's important to know that, like, this is like we go into it's like we're going into a ritual, into a ceremony where I'm in a container, right? And they are there to protect me, and everything that's happening around me they're making sure that nothing is interfering with what I need to do to remain at a certain level of focus and remain maintaining this for such an extended period. And especially with the motivators, only one person can speak to me from the boat in a very low voice, because I cannot be distracted. I cannot have you telling me something and someone else from behind, Neil, what about this? What about this? I'm in a very, very fragile state that I need to remain. When I put my face in the water, it's like I didn't stop, and that minute and a half didn't happen.
Are you married?
I have been with my partner for 13 years. She's one of the motivators.
I was going to say, if you're married, you'd be used to people talking loud and telling you what to do. And trying, don't go there, go there. It's okay. I'm with you now. I understand that. Okay.
Oh, no, she's a big part of the team. She's like the rock
nice.
of the team. And yeah, she's a big part of what we do.
Nice. So in the RIP, we call them IRBs. There's obviously a driver and a crew person. There's 2 people in the RIP.
There is the driver, there is the feeder, there's the motivator, and then there'll be another couple of people that will be on the boat. So the feeder and the motivator are separate.
Gotcha.
Okay. Yeah. They'll be a bit bigger than what we use. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
And are they obviously monitoring you, Neil, in terms of stroke rate and your verbal sort of replies to them? What other things are they looking for while you're swimming to keep you safe?
So the stroke rate is done by myself, right? So when you're doing these swims, you're not allowed to wear a watch that has any GPS tracking on it. So I just wear a basic Casio from the 1980s.
Casio stopwatch.
Yeah, 1980s first edition.
Those are the cool ones, man.
Yeah, I've got one.
Retro. But there's also a clock on the side of the boat that is a timer running up.
Okay.
Because at night I cannot. These watches of 1980 don't have a backlight that stays on.
Yes.
I won't be able to. There's a weather clock on the side of the boat.
That's interesting.
I forgot what the question was. Sorry.
What are the crew looking for in terms of safety
Yeah, so then I basically calculate the speed that I'm going at myself. So I calculate my stroke rate. I know I need to swim 40 to 42 strokes per minute to be able to swim the time that I need to swim within a certain. So it's like around the 2 minutes, 155 pace per 100. That is my all day pace, I call it, something I can do forever. If I start, my cadence goes up to 45, 46, my time will obviously go faster, but then it's too fast. I cannot sustain it.
Going to run out of gas.
Yeah, so it's important as well for people listening who kind of like feel like, oh, I can do this forever. If that's not your pace, you're not going to do it forever. And then 10, 12 hours, 3 hours, or however long the swim is, you'll be like, oh, that was a bad idea. I'm going to, and then you've gone too fast. You know, the swim is so long. Like I also like I have a master swimming group that I coach, and they go for these 2K swims, and they start like rockets. I'm like, guys, you're going to be swimming for the next 30 to 40 minutes, even some of them 50 minutes. Why are you going fast in the first? Plenty of time to go fast. First minute. You hear the gun, 3, 2, 1, go, and they're off like rockets.
Yeah.
It's the adrenaline that you need to learn how to control, and the fitness. You'll be at your fittest ever, so you're strong, you know. But in the long run, when it comes down to it, you then, once you elevate your heart rate, it's very difficult to bring it back down while you're still moving. Very difficult.
Yeah. So I've heard a lot of marathon swimmers or just sort of endurance athletes that don't have to be swimmers, but they almost go through some type of like a post-traumatic stress disorder after a big swim, right? Because obviously you've gone through hell and back on a 61-hour swim, no sleep. You've pushed your body to the max. The goals ticked off. What's next? And they get depressed and sort of struggle with a post swim like that. Is that relevant to you?
No, it's not relevant for me. To me, it's not, I'm not. I push myself to the extreme limits, yes, but it's a very spiritual experience for me. So it's I don't know if that's the reason why, to be fair, but I don't get that post swim dip. Yep. I give myself a lot of rest after. So 3, 4, 5 months, no swimming, no activity. It's like the doctors always tell me, it's like you've done a major operation. You need recovery now. And so I don't even go for short swims. I don't do any form of exercise at all, just to let the whole body, the muscles really recover right down to the last little touch. Because if you start to train too early, you'll feel good. You'll think you're recovered, but you're lowering your ceiling of potential every time. So people say, because I used to be so much faster a few years ago. That's because you're not giving your body enough rest in between big events. No time. You need to, after you finish a swim, you need to celebrate, you need to rest, you need to recover. And then you feel the calling to swim again, then you swim again. And I think that's what's important and why it's kind of, I remain in this space. I'm not chasing anything. I'm not chasing any record. A record is nice to have because it's imprinted in history, but that's not why I do it. I do it because I learn so much. I do it because I can inspire so many people to not to swim 60 hours. It's something I don't recommend to many people, but to take on.
So there's not a club of you guys in Malta that all hang out together that have done 60-hour swims.
No. If they see someone on the beach in the middle of the night walking into the sea, they'll know it's me.
Hey Neil, what was your stroke at the Olympics? What events did you do?
I swam 400 meters freestyle.
What time did you swim?
17 years old.
Yeah,
17. Wow.
That's pretty cool. That's a whole different chapter of your life, right?
A whole different chapter, and I wasn't even really ready for that moment. Like, I didn't know what to expect. It was very, very intimidating for me to be on that stage, right? And like you said, I'm not a big guy, so when you're walking around Olympic pools, like 6'6" is average, right? So it was a very big learning curve for me, and also lots of lessons that I still receive till today. Lessons from what happened and why did it happen, and what I can take from it. But
What's your thoughts?
Different world.
Yeah, 100%, man. Just last question from my side, and then I'll give you back your evening. But are you like any particular diet orientated? Are you a vegetarian or a vegan, or is there anything specific from that perspective? Or
I was a vegetarian for 2 years until 3 months after the swim, before the swim, where I was feeling that my body was craving protein more. And so I started to eat chicken. So I also eat chicken now.
Okay. And the reason for the vegetarian scenario, was that swim related or just lifestyle?
It was lifestyle. I have always been like, from always being a swimmer, always eating till I can't eat anymore, then eat some more, and then go feel sick on the sofa. And it was kind of like a detox that I did again, because one, it was like another test, like the drinking alcohol kind of test.
Yeah.
And then I realized that my body works and functions better with no heavy meat, no red meat. And so then I kept it for a long time. And everyone's body is different, right? But I also fast as well. So like my morning routine is I wake up at 10 past 5, try to be at the pool by 6 a.m. And then I give 2 hours of coaching. So I teach for 2 hours, and then I swim, depending, even if it's 4 or 5 hours swim. I wouldn't eat before I swim, because like that, my body is not wasting energy digesting, and I can really fully focus on stuff. Like, I know it's the last question, but what might be interesting is like I have 3 different strokes of freestyle that I swim, where the primary muscles change within each stroke. So throughout the swim, I give my chest a rest, and I use more my
Wow.
And so like
that's very interesting.
Yeah, I move it around a little bit, just to kind of give certain parts of my body a little rest.
That makes sense, right?
Yeah, but you have to train them, right? You can't go on the day of the swim and change something new, because you're going to get injured, because those muscles are not trained and ready for that amount of repetition.
Yeah.
And
that's impressive.
I mean, there's so many interesting things that I kind of like just discover on my own. And like, you know how when you're swimming, they tell you to kind of bend your elbow under your arm, so your thumb's kind of almost pointing in. That is putting too much pressure on my shoulders. That efficiency is not sustainable for so many hours. So I keep my arms straight, pull them down. I'm catching less water, but my shoulders are getting less tired, so I can do my 160,000 plus rotations. It's like when you ride a bike, right? And you're putting up the gears, or you're putting down the gears. I'm not sure which one is easier or not. But you sustain the low gears for many more hours than you can the high gears with efficiency, right? So it's the same concept, but with me in the water. So always finding these tricks, these ideas, the breathing, the stroke, what works to be able to do this for an extended period. So even though the efficiency of the stroke is less, then the continuity of the perfect aligns like this goes way higher, higher, higher. So like it's for me, I've gone into a deep study of understanding these things and understanding the mind, and creating mindset courses as well for people to kind of not swim. Like I always said, it's not to swim for 60 hours, but for them to get, some people find it hard to get from hour 1 to hour 24 of the day, without having anxiety attacks, panic attacks. And
Yeah.
do and what I'm studying and self-taught is applicable for them to apply in their everyday life to avoid these panic attacks and learn how to operate on a high level, no matter what's in front of them, no matter the storm, no matter how intense the situation is. Presence, focus, move forward.
Well, dude, you've got a lot of fans here in New Zealand. Everybody's really interested in what you do and what your achievements are. So firstly, well done, and we'll keep following you. How do we? Anybody that's listening, if they're keen to find out more about your swimming or your website, how do they get in touch with you?
I think the best place is my Instagram page, which is Neil, and then it's Agius. I'll spell it.
Agius, yeah.
Agius, Neil Agius. I'm also always posting tips. I do have potentially maybe another swim in me. So they're interested in finding out more and seeing what's going to happen in that aspect, to kind of follow. I always give tips on swimming, tips on mindset, tips on life, and just share what I feel really from what I've learned from the extreme to bring into the everyday.
70 hours, here we come.
Can you stay awake for 70 hours?
Not a chance.
To be fair, that's like something we didn't touch on. It's not trainable, right? So I don't practice once a month not sleeping for a day. It's not trainable. It works in the opposite, where you have to sleep more and create a sleep bank, like a bank account of sleep.
Yeah.
And you kind of... And
I love the way you think. And so I do a little bit of ice swimming, and I practice the same philosophy. I don't believe it's clever to go and swim in ice water every day to do an ice mile, for example. I'd rather get a bank of energy and then go and hit it. It works for me. It works for you, mate.
Do you have that cold water in New Zealand? Do you do ice swimming in New Zealand?
Yeah, so we've got obviously only in the winter period. There's probably about a 6-week window where we can find water that's sub 5 degrees, and we've had, I think, 4 national championships now, which is pretty cool. So
a mixture of pool and open water.
Come out. It's something I always want to do. I'll ask you a question. Can you guess the lowest sea temperature that we get in Malta?
The lowest sea temperature?
13.
Good guess.
Well, you say what it is.
You told me about it earlier in the podcast.
13 on a cold year, usually 14.
Okay.
But the
Okay, so up.
The cold is a really solid teacher, right? Cold is
Yes.
a good teacher.
Well, Neil, when you're ready, dude, July every year we have a championship. One year is lake swimming and one year is pool swimming. When you're ready, give us a shout and we will love to host you. And we can learn some lessons together. Yeah.
Yeah. The only issue is there's no preparation for it. Like I'm going in July, it's 28 degrees in Malta. So to jump from 28 to 5, we'll have to do.
So there was world ice swimming champs in Italy in January, and that would have been exactly the same, right? So the team that went from New Zealand went from whatever it was, 26, 27 degrees Celsius to the middle of winter to swim. So it's a. But you can jump in ice baths and do that type of other training.
A lot of workshops with ice baths in Malta. I do breathwork and ice bath workshops back home here.
Awesome. It's really good to chat, mate. Nice to meet you.
Yeah, same here, guys. Thank you.
Hi, my name is Caitlin O'Reilly. I'm the youngest person to have completed the Ocean 7 Challenge. If this really cool podcast has helped you learn something new, maybe it's introduced you to new swimmers, made you smile, then please take the opportunity to subscribe to Duncan and Jim's channel. I'm sure they would absolutely appreciate all your support. Cheers.
Thanks, Caitlin. Well, as always, you can give us feedback on our Instagram account @cleverdix or send us an email cleverdixnz@gmail.com. We'd really appreciate hearing from you. And cheers. We'll speak to you again soon.